All right, well, before we get into the show, I have a quick announcement to make. Just so you are all aware, we oftentimes stream this show live. You might hear reference to that tonight during the course of the show. We do stream this show live when we record it for everyone to listen to. So if you're interested in that, we usually record Monday nights, usually around 6 to 7. So keep an eye out on our Facebook pages for that. We usually try to post to our Facebook beforehand, before we go live. So keep an eye on that. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes somebody forgets, which would be me. Anyhow, you didn't come here and listen to this podcast to hear me ramble on about going live. If you're interested, jeffersonlibertyradio.com/live. Keep on a lookout on our Facebook page for updates. Anyhow, on to the show. Welcome to Jefferson Liberty Radio, the voice of the State of Jefferson in the Central Valley. I am Matthew, joined with a lovely group of folks here. Pat, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
We have Marie also sitting in.
Hi.
Before we get started, I want to tell you about our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Al's Certified Safe and Lock. Al's offers locksmithing services and alarm systems for a range of applications, including burglary, fire, tamper, medical emergencies, and much more. Al's has been locally owned and managed in Modesto for nearly 70 years, and with thousands of loyal and satisfied customers, you can be sure that Al's will meet and exceed your needs. For more information, call 1-800-700-4780 or go to alsalarm.com. That's ALSALARM.com. Thank you so much to Al's Certified Safe and Lock for sponsoring our show. Pat.
Yes, Matthew. Is it
away.
My turn?
It's your turn.
Take it away. Well, welcome everybody to the Jefferson Liberty Radio. Tonight we have Donald Babadalir. What can I say about Donald? What a nice young man we have in front of us. Let's just get into a welcome, Donald.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm very glad you're here. We're going to start off with the first question here. You recently applied for District 4 position on the Turlock City Council. Could you please tell us how that experience went? How was that, Donald?
It was less than ideal. I'll put it that way.
I'm sorry.
And it's not simply because of the fact that I was not appointed. I was not selected to be appointed for that. As long as somebody who is competent gets elected or appointed, I really have no issue with it. If you remember back to 2014, there was five of us that ran for 2 seats that were up that year. This is before they had districting. I remember
that, yes.
And one of the people that was running with me, or you could even say against me, sort of, because it could have been any one of us, was Sergio. Sergio, you all know, is one of us, pro-SOJ, conservative, constitutionalist,
and we miss him.
God-loving American.
We miss you, Sergio.
And I got to hang out with him a few days ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we had breakfast together, actually.
Oh, very nice.
You're the friend.
He saw a couple people over here.
Okay.
But, I mean, had he won in that election and I lost, or if I had won and he lost, we'd still be better off.
Right.
So I don't care who it is that wins, as long as they're a competent person and they qualify for the job. I don't think it should be all these little identity groups or special interest groups that are the determining factor for whether a person qualifies or not, whether they're this ethnicity or this ethnicity, or whatever quote unquote community it should be, or we hear this a lot these days. Yeah. How about who is qualified for the job? And that's my concern. And unfortunately, this is not a reflection of the person that they appointed. She's competent. She's experienced. It's Rebecca Ariano is her name. That's who they selected. But my issue with this was the fact that they did not give this enough time to explore who the candidates were. They held the meetings at 10 a.m. in the morning. One was held last Monday, a week ago, and the other one was held last Friday. And both of them were early in the morning. And they did stream it, but it wasn't really known that this was what was going on. And as far as a social media presence, I believe I was the only one that really took it to the people to get people's input on what issues matter to them, to get people's signatures. I was the only one that got over 100 signatures in just 3 days. We reached like 134 or something like that, 35 signatures. And if you
that speaks to your character, sir.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Thank you. And really, what's required in order to qualify for somebody to run on a regular election year is 20 to 30 signatures. Well, I got several times more than that, and none of the other candidates did that. The other thing is we didn't have any candidate forums. There was none of that occurred. Look, I get it. The city council had to make a decision. It cost $20,000 to $30,000 to put up a special election, but that, I think, would have still been better than the process that we had, or they could have just extended it out. You don't need to fill that position within a month or two. You can go a little bit longer and hold a few more meetings or have candidate forums to figure out where these people stand. We have no idea what any of these people stood for. Yep. I was the only one that was online, speaking my mind and talking about the issues that matter. I'm not a single issue person.
Well, the other thing I saw was like on the applications, there were a lot of spaces that were blank.
Yeah.
Or just one paragraph.
I filled mine up completely.
How I saw yours. How do you know who a person is with just one paragraph?
That's where you have to ask them the tough questions in candidate forums, or if they have a social media presence, somebody goes to their website or to their page and asks them these tough questions. I was the only one that had that. And it's funny that I, other than Mayor Bublak, I didn't end up on the top 3 of any one of these people's lists. And what I found also funny was the fact that Monday, when they were having these interviews, when they were asking these questions, it was almost as if they were crafted to draw out a certain response by certain individuals.
That's
like they were looking for a certain thing. And so I look, elections have consequences. Regardless of who it is that won or got appointed, this council is going to have some serious issues ahead of them. Yes, I'm willing to offer my advice, but they're going to need to listen, and they're going to have to stop being stubborn. They will have to be accountable to the people. And I am a person who speaks my mind, and I will speak on social media. If I see them stepping out of line, I will call them out for it.
So the Turlock, the citizens of Turlock should definitely be happy they have you as a citizen, one who will speak out and tell them the truth about it. Would you like to ask the next question?
I know
Marie?
When you first came to speak to us about what you were going to do and politics and stuff, you were contemplating running for Senator Berryhill's seat. Yeah. And what happened with that? Why didn't you run? Can you tell us, just some of the aspects of running? And
It was an idea that I had floated, and there was a lot of people, obviously, that supported it. But here's the reality. I look at these elections from a strategic standpoint. There is, of course, the patriotic aspect, the blood that runs through all of our veins that says, yeah, let's go at it, let's get them. Yep. But there is also the strategy that's behind these elections, and what people need to understand, and this is going to lead us into the conversation later tonight, is the fact that we have a very poor method of representation here in the state of California. What people need to know about that election, the reason why I did not file to run officially, was because of the fact that State Senator Andreas Borges at that time was a supervisor for County of Fresno. Now, he already had garnered plenty of support in Fresno, and all he had to do was just simply campaign in Fresno and win Fresno, which accounts for the majority of the votes. Yes. And he would not even have to campaign in Turlock or part of it goes into part of Oakdale and Modesto.
Yeah,
that
and
area.
Then a little bit of San Joaquin.
Right, it goes all the way up to close to Mono Lake. Yeah, so it's a very large district, but he would not have to touch any of those rural areas or areas up in the mountains. All he would have to do is just focus on Fresno, and boom, he's got it. So tell me how that's a fair election.
It's not.
I would have no chance at that. Well, so speaking from strategy, listen, we all have a limited, finite amount of resources, and what I mean is money and time.
Yep.
We have bigger battles to fight. I'd rather we focus our energy on those kind of things, battles that we can win, than ones that we cannot win. So we're going to eventually address this issue of representation. It's going to happen. So that's the reason why I didn't want to run for that position.
Well, we heard Senator Berryhill at a County Board of Supervisors meeting say that he had 11 counties and over 1 million people he represented. So how do you do that? And the thing is, none of us saw Borges. I didn't vote for him because he didn't even show his face.
Right. I think you had mentioned you invited him to one of your meetings,
and he
right?
never came.
Never came. So that's not how I am. I offered on social media to come visit. This is before it was even announced that I would run. I just said, hey, I'll come down and I'll speak in your county about what it is that's going on with representation. And there was a few people that wanted to take me up on that offer, but why didn't he come up here? You represent this district.
Yep.
Because he doesn't need us.
Yep. And that's sad.
And that's...
And it shouldn't cost a lot. I mean, and it does. And we'll get into...
Yeah, of course.
The cost and everything.
He has his war chest, from previous elections. So, look, congratulations, you won the seat, but do something with it. You represent a district of 930,000 individuals, almost 1 million. So, it's not just Fresno that you need to be looking at. Come visit us up here, further up in the Central Valley. Hear what people have to say, and listen to what's going on here with this conversation about representation, the CFR lawsuit. Listen to what's going on, because don't count this out. This is an issue that will come up, and it's eventually going to reach the Supreme Court.
Okay, before I'd like to know if you have any advice for anybody who's thinking about running for office.
Yes, I would definitely recommend taking a civics class.
Very good. And learning the Constitution, right?
Or even an economics class, too.
Yeah, they used to offer these classes in high school. I don't know what they offer now, LGBT
Social
studies or whatever it is that they do. Look, I think if you're going to be involved in any form of government, local, state, federal, you need to be aware of how the process works. You need to be aware of what constitutional powers there are for the legislative branch, for judicial, and for executive. We've got, one clown that's currently a congresswoman based out in New York who doesn't even know how many branches of government there are.
That's true.
I'm not even going to say her name because I don't believe in promoting these kind of people. So, if you're going to run for office, and I encourage you to do so, just get educated on the process. I would be more than happy to answer your questions about where you can find the forms for filing, so on and so forth. And, I can point you to the resources for you to get information about how constitutional law works. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't tell you those things myself, but I can tell you where to find the resources. And get up to date on those kind of things, figure out how the system works, and then figure out what the issues are that are occurring locally. Like, for example, over here in the Central Valley in California, one of the major issues right now is water. So get educated about water before you go speak somewhere and make a fool of yourself. We have people in office right now that are saying ridiculous things because they're either ignorant to what the water issues are really about, or they have an agenda and they're trying to push certain policies in order to basically bankrupt all the farmers and landowners out here in the Central Valley.
That's true. Well, the other thing it takes too, and I don't think people realize, and it's sad, is how much money it takes. Even at a local level, they say to run for a county board seat and to make it work the right way, you almost need $80,000.
Right.
And
$80,000.
That's ridiculous that it costs that much to run for a county board seat or even a city council or a mayor's race. That's absurd.
Yeah, I think we've had some city level elections where the council candidates or mayoral candidates have spent like $80,000 or $90,000 on some of these elections.
That's
and
absurd.
That's sad.
It shouldn't be like that.
It's great that local businesses that make signs are making money off of it, but
I always wondered about
reality
that.
Yeah.
The reality is that we don't need to be spending that kind of money on these elections.
Well,
and the moment that people feel that they need to raise $80,000 or $90,000 for a simple local election, then they start being desperate for that money, and they become beholden to certain individuals who are funding these campaigns.
yes.
And I don't believe in that.
And we saw that in Turlock.
Yeah.
Big time. We saw that for 4 years. People controlling certain people with the money and the power that they had.
Yes.
And that about destroyed us.
Favors.
What about the districts that they've put us all in? Do you agree? Yes, no?
Well, it's twofold on that. I don't agree with the reason why the city of Turlock put that initiative or that measure up for vote in 2014. I don't agree with the reason why they did it. I agree with the idea of having smaller segments of government, smaller, more localized government. I do agree with that as a principle of general small government. What I don't agree with was their reason, which was there was a lawsuit brought forward by, at that time, the Latino Community Roundtable, among others, and they basically said, we're going to sue the city if they don't conform to this request. Now, keep in mind, cities that are over 100,000 are the ones that are required to have districts. Turlock at that time, and even now, is not above 75,000. It was around 70,000 at that time, 72,000 now. So why was that done?
Why was it done anywhere other than Modesto and Stanislaus County?
Yeah,
Because no one
there
has maxed that.
There was really no reason to do that. Now, if you tell me, okay, we're going to do it because we want limited, smaller government, smaller units of government, well, now you have a city council person who's representing, let's say, District 4. It's only, let's say, 6,000 or 7,000 people.
I didn't know that.
Versus an entire city of 70,000. Okay, well, you have good logic there. I support that. I do. And that's why I supported Measure A when they had it up for it. I supported it only for that reason. But on the other hand, I don't think that the issue of ethnicity should be the reason why we put up something like that. And that was what was wrong, because there was an argument, well, who's going to represent the people over there on the west side and blah, blah, blah. Listen, we have had individuals of all races, of all creeds, of all colors representing all sorts of areas. It comes down to either they're competent or they're not. That's really what it comes down to.
That's true.
And that's what I believe.
I like that. Is really the idea of the ethnicity really bothers me
It's
as
ridiculous.
well.
Look, I'm an immigrant myself. My family immigrated here to this country
legally
for freedom, legally. Yeah, a long time ago.
Right.
So, but I don't go around and I don't say, "Hey, I'm going to go ahead and get into this position so I can benefit this special interest group." That's not what I believe in. You come over here, you're either an American or you're not.
Right.
That's it. And if you're not, find a way to do it legally. If not, and if you don't want to do that, then get out. That's really what it comes down to.
I agree.
Respect
with
this
you.
country. Respect the fact that there's people that died and bled for this country to give people freedom to live here. If you're going to want to circumvent that entire process, then that means you don't respect the liberty and the freedom that's offered by this country. And if that's the case, why are you here?
Why are you here?
Then you're probably just an invader if that's the case.
They want.
I agree with you.
They come to change us rather than to be part of us. That's not good. So, Donald, what do you think about? What are your thoughts on the political climate right now in the county?
The county and the cities are facing a really, really awful situation right now because they're being affected by things that are happening on a state level. The biggest one right now being the biggest two being representation and the other one being water. So there's the state level water grab that's going on right now, and we have local districts here that are filing a suit against the state for that. Mm-hmm. And people are like, oh, well, it's because they're in the Central Valley and they lean a little bit more conservative, and that's why they're doing this, and they don't care about the fish and blah, blah, blah. No, guess what? County of San Francisco, City of San Francisco actually signed on to this lawsuit to go against the state because they disagree with what's going on. They are going to actually suffer because of it.
Well,
but hey, if it takes San Francisco getting on board to get this fixed, fine, let's do it.
well, isn't Hetch Hetchy theirs, and it's above our dams and stuff too, right? San Francisco's in charge of Hetch Hetchy.
Yes,
I
think so. I think so.
That
Okay.
county is. I'm not positive about that.
He's saying yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So there's that issue. There's the issue of here in this county we have. Okay, so we have TID and we have MID. Turlock and Ceres are building this new water treatment facility. Overinflated price. There was no transparency in this whole process. Some cities that were signed on to this process actually pulled away. They didn't want to be part of it. So why is Turlock basically paying for all of this? Why are we doing all the conservation and our prices our water rates are going up?
Yep.
Why?
Good question.
And that's what's going on here on a county level. We didn't even do a surface water treatment plan.
No,
I believe
there was
MID.
nothing done.
I believe MID was doing that, and so what that allowed for them to do was to have higher water table for the sub basin that they can pull from. Turlock should have done that. But what's actually happened is they didn't do that, so our sub basin levels are dropping, and we also have other towns in the area that are pulling from our groundwater.
Like Denair.
So we're like super conserving.
yes,
with the water.
right?
We're also giving it to other people. And then when it comes to the citizens of Turlock, we pay the highest rates.
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
We've almost doubled, if not tripled, our prices.
So what we need to be doing is we need to find more partners on a local level and on the state level to sign on to these lawsuits of the nature that we see right now, and petition our assembly members and our state senators to join us in this fight. So we've got Andres Borges. Congratulations, you won that seat, sir. But come over here and join us in this fight.
Yep, and he won't.
But he won't.
We won't see him at all. Just like, I mean, we had Berry Hill and Canella. They're in our backyards, and we hardly ever saw them.
Yeah.
They live here, and we hardly ever saw them until Canella wanted the ACE train, and now he's getting it, and that's his new job. So we totally lack representation in our thing.
Just shake my head and just bang against the wall.
So I have a question. Being a Republican, a very conservative one, what are your thoughts on Kristen Olson and Chad Mays and Arnold Schwarzenegger and all the others getting together and wanting to
At it
flip
during a secret meeting.
Yes. We were told by Steve Frank that they had a private secret meeting. They threw Jessica Patterson up against as the chairperson because it was easier for their lackey to take the chairship and switch the Republican Party to more of a moderate base. What are your thoughts on what do you even see
How are
in
they gonna switch it
Stanislaus
to more,
County?
more moderate? It's already so far moderate, so far center left that it can't get any more than that without becoming Democrat. So to me, that's just pure rubbish. With all due respect, Kristen and Chad and whoever else that's involved in this process, you're wrong. The Republican Party did not lose membership because they were too conservative. They lost membership because they were not conservative. That's
There
why
you
California
go.
Republicans have gained the name of rhinos. Across the nation, they are known as rhinos
Yes.
because they moved away from their base. How is it that this state was the state of Ronald Reagan and it has become what it has become? Ronald Reagan carried this state back
Yes.
then. That's because he was conservative.
You're right.
You
You
know?
hit the nail on the head.
So, and I didn't agree with all of his policies, but that's we've strayed far, far away from that, and that's the reason why we've lost so many people. The other thing is outreach. The
There is
Republican
none.
Party over here has not done much outreach.
Oh no.
The Democrat Party goes around in large groups because they get the funding, and I know how they get the funding, Part of it is like, for example, they'll have organizations like Planned Parenthood, which get taxpayer dollars. They turn around and they fund Democrats with that money, just like they did with that baby killer governor in Virginia.
Yep.
So that's what happens here in California. We have organizations that get all this money, taxpayer dollars, turn around and fund candidates. Candidates take the money and they pay off some people who work their ground game strategy. And then there's the other issue over here of ballot harvesting.
Yep. Which is now legal in California.
Yeah, which they recently made legal. You're right.
That's wrong.
So
and
that's
we
how
have
they're winning
Prop
these
14
elections.
on top of it, the top two.
So my recommendation to the Republicans in California is, if you want to gain membership, there's a lot of conservative people here, but have a backbone. If you want to be Democrat light, just go join the Democrat Party.
Well, what I find interesting too is, one, when you ask people, and we've done this at our groups, what are the planks of the party? No one knows.
Yeah.
So how can you be a party person if you don't even know what your party stands for?
Right.
The other thing is, where are they at events? Because we're all at almost every event there is in this county, and the only party we have seen for the last 8 years is the Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And the Democrats only show up during election time. Our group is the only group for the last 10 years that it shows up all the time for everything. And we're the ones who go out and do the most. They don't come, but they sure want those voter registrations from us.
And they want our help.
And they want our help. Well, ain't going to happen. And this is why. So I just think it's sad what we've become. I really do. And
it is. And look, it always comes down to strategy. If the people who are advising these candidates, if they actually listened to their base, they would win elections. They would. This is what a lot of people don't understand here. If you remove all of the illegal votes that were cast, all the fake ballots that were turned in, if you remove all of that, California, for the most part, is actually a red state. People don't want to believe that. It is.
it is.
We have a lot
You're
of conservatives in all the liberal counties as well.
Yes.
And if you remove those fake ballots, you're going to see it's either going to be split half-half, or it might even be leaning red in a lot of places. And what I would also say is, whether you like Trump or not, back in 2016, these counties over here in Central California and the state as a whole made more calls to battleground states than even Hillary's central headquarters did to those battleground states. I'm talking thousands and thousands of people here that did that. There is a fervor here for constitutionalism.
Yep.
But the Republican Party, the leaders, whoever they have right now that are running things, are not listening. So if you're worried about votes, if you're worried about membership, I'm telling you that the numbers are there. You just have to listen to them. And I will say, I as far as the candidates that have put themselves up for Republican chairmanship, thus far, Travis Allen is the only one to me that seems like he knows what he's doing. But all of them, what they need to do is listen to their constituents. There's a lot of conservative people here in this state, and we can win elections if they just go back to the original party principles instead of trying to follow the Democrats.
I think if you research Steve Frank, you would find he's the most ultra-conservative of all of them. And
he has very good ideas.
Great ideas on how to reach the base, and he's tried and tried and tried, and they've shoved him aside at every given moment. I've been a delegate, and I've been at convention when we've tried. I've watched him try and set things up.
I'll definitely look into him as well.
And he's been shot
a
down.
Stubborn person.
No, you're not.
Well, you have an open mind.
Yeah.
Very good.
He's been shot down all the time on how to reach out to people, what type of seminars and things should be done, how to do things, and he's shot down.
Well,
because they don't want to hear that side.
We did interview him some weeks back, and if you'd like, you could certainly go back and listen to that podcast. It is
I
archived.
definitely will. Again,
So
I'm
he is
open-minded.
good. Yeah,
The only time that I absolutely refused to listen to anybody's rhetoric was when President Trump was running. I knew from the moment that guy spoke and announced, that was it. I was going to vote
you were
for
on
him.
the Trump train. huh?
But it's very rare that ever happens. So
Yeah.
I'd be willing to entertain anybody as long as they're a constitutionalist,
And
as long as they're not trying to push some foreign country's agenda here.
Right.
No,
right.
he's not. He's not. He helped with Reagan's campaign. He helped with
Nixon.
He
The
helped
Nixon
with.
campaign.
He was like 18 years old when he first started.
He
so.
came back from Vietnam and started working on that.
That's awesome.
I can't. But anyway, I'm glad you have an open mind, because that's what a lot of people think about conservatives, is that we are very closed
And we're not.
minded, and we are not. We are very open to other ideas. And I thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
I
We
appreciate the comments, and to add to that, there's for those that are interested in understanding how personalities work, I recommend looking into the 5 top personality traits, and one of those being openness. So a conservative, I would say, isn't a conservative because they're closed-minded. I think they're open-minded enough to have measured all of the different outcomes of a situation to say, okay, well, I think these will lead down the wrong path. That's why I need to conserve what it is that I have.
nice.
Yes.
And
That's
Very
very
true.
good.
Yeah.
Good. Wow, I'm learning so much from this young man. I'm not only still have an open mind, but I can still learn. That's good. That's good for this old lady. Anyway, well, let's get on to our this will be our final question, Donald, and thank you so much again for being here.
My pleasure.
We appreciate it.
So, would you mind sharing your thoughts on the state of Jefferson? We love the state of Jefferson. We love that it's, what it stands for, and we'd like to know your thoughts.
I'm 100% on board. Marie remembers. Well, let me go back further.
Okay.
Years and years ago, I'd seen photos of the original SOJ logo that they had created years ago. It was like a black and white photo, I think it was.
Mhm.
So I had heard about this movement, and then a couple years later, I saw people online who are up in our northern California counties, kind of where the whole SOJ movement originated.
Mhm.
And they were talking about, well, I wish, some people would give this a thought, because there's a lot of legitimacy to it about what's going on. And I'm like, okay, well, let me look into this. And again, I'm open-minded. I'll listen. I won't be sold really off the bat, but I'll listen. So they said, okay, well, this is what's going on with representation. Nobody cares about these northern counties because there aren't that many individuals who live in those counties population-wise, but there's a lot that they contribute. Ag, logging, so on and so forth. Which, that to me was a big deal when I saw the numbers. And I saw how those counties really did not count for much in terms of the votes in the state assembly and the Senate. I was like, wow, well, okay, that means our vote has become diluted. We have 40 state senators, 80 state assemblymen.
Yes. Yeah.
That I think it's 80.
Yes.
The state senators represent 930,000, close to a million people.
Yes.
Which is more than what some of the congressional reps in California represent, I think. So that's a huge amount of people. And to think that a small district that's a state Senate district in Southern California, where like in LA County, for example, to think that somebody can campaign in such a small area, because it's obviously they have a higher population density, and they can easily campaign in that area because there's not that much that they have to reach. Compare that to a northern district for the state Senate, like the district that I was considering at one point of running, Senator Borges's district. goes all the way from just north of Death Valley, all the way up to Mono Lake, almost. Actually, a little bit further. And it's on the Nevada border all the way to about where a little bit east of Turlock or west of Turlock. So that's a huge, huge district.
It is.
And to think, okay, well, how am I going to represent all of those people?
You're not.
It's not going to happen. And that's why we didn't see Borges up here. You know, we saw some signs that looked like bumper stickers here and there on poles, but we never saw him here. So this is what's going on in the state of California. And this is what gives legitimacy to the CFR suit. This is what gives legitimacy to the idea of SOJ. This is why I was on board years ago, before even Stanislaus signed on to this. I said, Marie, if this ever comes over here, I'm on board with this.
Yep, he did.
And I will always be on board with it because of that. There are people who are proponents of other quote-unquote solutions. I don't think that they are going to be the answer, because as far as I've seen the numbers, they're just going to be creating new federal level U.S. Senate seats that are probably going to be occupied by Democrats by creating, for example, the 3-state solution. That's going to create basically 3 Californias, is what it's going to create.
Yep.
There are other proposed solutions, but every one of them basically creates another version of what we have right now.
Right now.
SOJ is the
true.
only one. Like I heard Mark Baird's solution, which was to have, I think he was saying, for every assembly person, 3,000 people, and for every state senator, I think what did he say? Was it 6,000 or something like that?
I think it was the other way around. I think
or
Senate
maybe the other way around.
Yes, I think Senate is 6 and Assembly is
3. Yeah,
3,500.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he had proposed numbers like that. Well, I think that means that we get more representation.
We do.
So I did like that solution. And the other thing about that is we know based off of the numbers that state is not going to lean in the direction of San Francisco. We've seen the direction San Francisco has gone. We don't want our counties to look like that.
No, and we had a lady, Marjorie, and she's actually from Merced County, take how many Democrats, how many Republicans, and we would lean more to the right.
Yeah. And I think that would create some balance because, we have the rest of the state, which is basically dictating to us their policies. This water grab is basically being pushed by the counties down south in the LA area and the Bay Area and some other individuals who are running things up in Sacramento. So, and I have a hypothesis as to why it's going on. It ties into a larger strategy with what the enemy's trying to do here in the United States, is to weaken the United States to make it dependent on outside forces. So if you look very closely with the trends that we've seen in the last 30 years, when manufacturing has shifted to other countries through these policies of globalism, look at where all the automakers have shifted their plants, up until Trump at least.
Mm-hmm.
With President Trump,
Right.
we've seen the reversal of that. But let's say up until that point, where were they all going?
Mexico.
Or other countries.
Ford dealership.
China.
Mm-hmm.
All Ford's engines are made in Mexico.
Right.
It's like...
Right. It's pretty crazy when we see a Japanese car company actually makes more cars in the United States
Toyota.
than
Yep.
some of the so-called
That's
American names.
That's
do,
true.
Or at
Yes.
least did up until now. So my point going with that is, okay, well, why are they attacking agriculture here in the state of California? Well, we are the biggest agricultural producers in the entire world. This is the breadbasket of the United States.
That's true.
The greatest amount of almonds, the greatest amount of walnuts, greatest amount of strawberries, raisins, you name it. Wine. When we destroy that, what are we going to do? We're going to be relying on food and produce to be coming in from other countries. So this is a shift of wealth from the United States and from California to other countries. That's what this is about. And look in the news lately, what it is. The there's speculation now that certain politicians have taken money from drug lords and from individuals from other countries, and that's why they're trying to subvert what President Trump is trying to do with the wall. That's why they're trying to implement all these globalist policies, and that's why they were mad that President Trump pulled out of the TPP.
Well, yeah, it's all Agenda
So it's
21.
all tied in. Yeah, it's all tied in together, and this is what I'm trying to get people to understand. It's not a conspiracy. It's all out in the news for you to see.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's happening. It's not hidden. It's happening in plain sight, and people need to be aware of what's going on.
For a long time, I think people looked at all of us as conspiracy theorist people because we kept tooting the United Nations Agenda 21, and everything you talked about pulls it all back into place.
Right.
Look at it. It's online. Read it.
Well,
It ties
I'll
all
give
into
you-
that.
look
Oh,
at,
go ahead,
well,
go
I
ahead.
was just going to
Sorry.
say China and Feinstein. Look at her how chummy she's been.
China Stein.
China Stein. There we go.
I like that.
I'll give you another example of this. They have, with Agenda 21, it turned into Agenda 2020 and then eventually 2030 because they keep missing their goal of trying to take over the United States with their globalist agenda. They keep missing that date, and they're gonna lose. Take a look at what's going on with the policies that they're trying to flow down. Take a look at the COGs, Councils of Government.
Oh, yeah, like StanCog or LAFCO.
Like StanCog, exactly. Yeah.
LAFCO, too.
Take a look at what's going on. Basically, what they're doing is these larger entities, larger forms of either governance or just conglomerates or groups of individuals who are making policy. What is it that they're pushing? It gets flowed down from the top. You guys better include more low-income housing. This is the push that we're seeing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, why is that happening? Because what they're basically doing is they're trying to get these individuals who are dependent on government, who will do anything for free this or free that, or for subsidized housing or for subsidized this,
You're right.
subsidized Obama phones, whatever. They're getting those people housing, and in exchange, those people will continue to vote in the politicians who continue to vote away the sovereignty of the United States, the sovereignty of the state of California, the sovereignty that we have, that was fought for by our forefathers, people who bled and died for it. So we need to be watching out for this kind of stuff. When people see, oh, well, we're going to be building low-income housing here and here, you better immediately be skeptical of what's going on there.
Yep.
And believe me that directive is coming from high up above, and it's being decided by people who are sitting someplace far away, sipping on margaritas or maybe some wine and laughing about how their globalist agenda is to destroy the United States while they get rich off of it.
Yes.
It's true. Very true. And what's sad is people don't understand that the United Nations is at a local level. When you say StanCog or LAFCO, they look at you like you're nuts. Unless you're Kristen Olson or Senator Berryhill, then you're like, you don't mention that because the normal, average person doesn't get that. We all do. And the more that you push and you go to a county board meeting, you see all that crap coming our way.
Yep.
More and more and more and more. The homelessness.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's, yeah.
And there's a lot of money involved, and that's why I disagreed with what happened with Turlock declaring a state of emergency so that they can get county and state funds in order to pursue the homelessness issue. Look, there's always been homeless everywhere in the world, but you can't take. If you ask how many of those people of the 250 or some odd people who are in Turlock that are declared homeless, if you ask how many of them went homeless in Turlock, it's like 90. So you're telling me out of the county where there's like 1,500 homeless people, only 90 of them originally went homeless in Turlock. Why is Turlock the one that's declaring a state of emergency?
Well, the
it's
thing
to
is,
get funds.
Yes, and the thing is, most of those people have been bussed in.
Yes.
They have cameras and witnesses of people just San Joaquin County throwing theirs over this way.
They don't even try to hide it anymore.
No, we had a county board of supervisor tell us that we have like the best handouts there are. So people come this way.
Yeah.
It needs, people need to wake up. And
so it is by design. This homeless situation is by design, and I can see it now.
So this is called in philosophy. They refer to this as the Hegelian dialectic, and what that is you take a problem or a crisis, and you create a reaction to that, and then a solution. So the problem is homelessness, the reaction is outrage. And then the solution is, let's declare a state of emergency and take more funds.
Rather than
taxpayer dollars really is what we mean.
Yes.
So, people want to talk about this and they can't, because anytime anybody says something, they say, you're heartless.
Yeah.
Well, that's not what this is about.
Racist.
Or you're a racist, even worse. Yeah. They'll use every ism or ist in the world in order to try to end the conversation rather than getting down to the issue, which is government is spending too much money. We would have had money for a lot of these things if government on all levels wasn't spending outrageously.
Well, regulations too. You used to have food shelters, food banks. Homeless people I used to know used to stay at the churches, and then they were out in the morning and they had closed closets, but California regulated that so bad that no church can do that anymore. You can't even feed in the park anymore without getting the citation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Look, they have numbers. This is something that anybody can go on the internet and search. You take the top 500 richest people in the United States, combine all their money and put it all together, it's going to be like $2 or $3 trillion. Okay? How long is that going to last the United States government? They'll spend that in like 8 months to a year.
But with Jefferson, it can all be solved.
And that's where I was getting to is if this state exists, we can basically rewrite the future of these counties. No more of these policies that we see right now, and a government that's by the people, of the people, and for the people, where councilmen, assemblymen, state senators are more accountable to the people. And if one representative has 3,000 people that they have to be accountable to, it's going to be very easy for them to get replaced.
That's true.
Yes.
So when we get the statehood, then you're really going to run for office.
I'll run either way. Listen, I love the geographical area that we call California, not the state of California. I love the geographical area of California. There's a lot of great people here. To me, it's the good people that we see here, the people who fight for this country, for this state, the farmers, the laborers, the business owners, people who provide care to others. It's all of those things. It's the beaches, the mountains, the desert, the forests, all of it. Not what's going on in Sacramento, and not these globalists who are trying to destroy us. And what I would say to people is, please go to the SOJ 51 website and look into this, read into it, see what this representation issue is all about, if you didn't have a chance to catch all of what we talked about, and make your decision from there. But go and see Marie, go and see the people who have the petitions for you to sign, and sign on. I was one of the first people to do it. I'm very happy for doing that.
Oh,
yes, and come to a meeting. Come to a meeting and learn. Easily done. We're at the Grizzly Rock Cafe in Turlock every first and third Wednesday of every month. Come on out and see us.
It's all sorts of people. It's not like a Klan rally or something like that. No, we got people of all ethnicities.
Yes, we do.
But we're all American. Like Aaron and I are actually Assyrian, but we're American, and we love this state and the people in it, and we really just want to see the best for these counties
Right.
that are suffering right now, that are not getting the representation that they need.
Yep.
That's right.
And if you want to learn more, go to www.soj51.org, or you can go to www.stanislausconcernedcitizens.org and get information. And you can sign our petition. You can sign up to get our emails, and go to the SOJ51 for the messenger. Great article about Stanislaus County. Thanks to John, who wrote it. It was really, really awesome. Right
Excellent job.
about Stanislaus County and our water issue, and the fact that our county board will not do a resolution for SB 54. But we did find out that Modesto is looking into doing it. So come to the next meeting, because some of the people from Modesto are going to talk about how to present that to their city council.
City of Modesto is not a sanctuary city. We learned that,
but our
too.
county is.
Our county is, but our city isn't.
There was one other thing I was going to say.
Okay, go ahead.
And this is about the businesses, because we see what happened on a national level with the policies that President Trump brought in, with the relaxing of certain regulations, with some of the things that he worked on in order to bring back businesses into this country. The new tax law that he pushed for, that Congress passed and that he signed, has a lot of companies to bring back money that they had patriated to other countries and had been storing overseas. That money came back into the United States. Those companies came back into the United States. What's been happening in California is the exact opposite of that.
Yep.
There's businesses leaving. We've had hundreds, if not thousands, of businesses that have left in the last few years here, all going for these quote-unquote free states. Mm-hmm. Texas, Wyoming, Colorado,
we've
here in Tennessee. And we've lost so much here. We've lost jobs. We've lost brilliant minds.
Human resources.
Everything, you name it. So with SOJ, we would have a pro-business environment that would attract these businesses back. To this area.
Well, and the sad truth is our taxes. Trump gave us all of this for all of you guys out there, right? And a friend of mine went to his accountant today, and he said, Trump did awesome, but Newsom and Brown are going to screw you over.
Yeah, that's awful. That's awful. And I think I've heard more than once say a company or two say that, well, when the state of Jefferson comes,
we'll be back.
Yeah, we'll be back. We'll be heading toward the state of Jefferson, opening up our logging industry again, our
mining and
mineral. Yeah, yes.
Fishing.
Oh, fishing. Yeah, there's another one.
The thing about this is what a lot of people don't understand. One of the reasons why the United States has so much leverage over other countries, including the juggernaut China, is because we are one of the only countries that have developed to this extent our mining system. Australia is another one of them. They rely heavily on mining. But the United States is one of those that relies heavily on mining. And it took a long time to develop that.
I never knew that.
Yeah. So because of that, we're able to apply pressure in this trade war right now on China, because they rely on materials coming from other countries for them to be able to build their stuff.
Coal.
So one of the things that a lot of people don't know is there was this huge lawsuit that happened, and what they did is they applied pressure on this one company in China that was stealing intellectual property from a company here in the United States called Micron, which makes microchips and so on and so forth, okay? So they were stealing intellectual property from them. The Trump administration said, you're not doing that. So they basically placed an embargo that made it impossible for those materials to come there, so they could not build those chips. And that company is going out of business in China. That this is the kind of power that the United States has that none of our previous presidents, except maybe Reagan and a few others, exercised. And this is the kind of power that we would have here in California if we just had some politicians with a spine that knew how to do it. So I have the strategy. If y'all are willing to listen, I'll be happy to give you advice.
Yep.
But we need to take this state back and bring it back to greatness. And if it's not going to happen in California, then it's going to happen as Jefferson.
Yeah.
But we're going to do it.
Right, right. Good. Great closing comments there.
I learned a lot tonight.
I did too. Well, he and I'm sure we've only touched the surface of his knowledge. I'm sure of that.
Every time Donald comes to speak, we learn something new.
Yes.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Oh, good.
I love chatting with y'all, and really love the fervor with which you all work.
Yes.
For this cause.
Good.
I know you're good people, and I hope everybody that's listening does their research. Please research and do your due diligence. But this is a movement well worth fighting for. Well worth fighting for.
That's why we've been giving it our all for how many years now, Marie?
Well, we've, as a group, been here 10 years.
10 years.
And as SOJ, almost 2 now.
Yeah.
It'll be 2 March? April. 2 years in April as taking on SOJ. And we are now up to 5,020 signatures to support our cause. And we have declared, even though a lot of people in Stanislaus don't know that, we still have those signatures to collect. So go online and sign or meet us coming up February 16th at the gun show.
You know, a lot of people think that that getting involved means spending a lot of time and effort into this cause. And actually all we really need is your bodies once in a while. I mean, as far as your presence at certain times, and your presence and your signatures. And that's what I mean by that. So, it doesn't take a lot. All we want is your
just once in a while come out and help us or come to a meeting. We have so much fun. We really do.
We're not a boring bunch of old fogies.
No, we have way too much fun. Ask anybody who we've interviewed.
Yes, we do.
Ask Kevin Fox. He'll tell you.
Yeah, yes.
Donald can tell you we have fun at our meetings.
Yeah,
so
it's definitely fun. And the more the merrier.
Yes. We have a great time at events. We always do. We
do.
Always do. So come out and join us sometime. Just stop by, say hi, hang out with us for a little while. It's fun.
It is fun. Well, thanks again, Donald, for being here tonight.
My pleasure.
And thank you, Marie, for being my great co-host.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you,
Donald.
Matthew, and our producer, Aaron, and our soon-to-be backup techie guy, John. Thank you for being here as well. And that's it. Thanks. Go Jefferson Liberty Radio. Go Jefferson. SOJ. Okay, upcoming events. On February 16th and 17th, we'll be at the Code of the West show. That will be at the Stanislaus County Fairgrounds. February 20th, Kevin McGarry will be speaking at and that'll be at 6:30 at Grizzly Rock. You don't want to miss that. That'll be a very good speaking night. He is a very interesting man. And that's about it. Thank you very much.
Well, I want to say thank you again to Donald for coming on tonight. If you are interested in sponsoring our show, you can head over to jeffersonlibertyradio.com or email us at sponsors@jeffersonlibertyradio.com. We are actively looking for sponsors, so if you or anybody else you know of, please get in touch with us. We need your help. Just like Pat and Maria were saying, we need your help in any way that you can. If you can sponsor our show, that'd be fantastic. We'd also love to hear from you. You can email us at feedback@jeffersonlibertyradio.com or via our website, again, jeffersonlibertyradio.com. We'd love to hear your questions, your comments, feedback, anything you'd love to tell us. You can also reach out to us via any of the typical social media, Facebook, Twitter. You can find our episodes on Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, and don't forget to subscribe to us in iTunes or your podcast player of choice if you aren't already. Leave us a 5-star review in those places. We'd really appreciate it, and it does help our ratings. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Jefferson Liberty Radio, and we will catch you next time.
So I will talk very close to the mic.
There we
tonight.
go. I can hear Pat.
Is that better?
It's better. It's better.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yep, you're good.
The rain in Spain stays mainly on the plain.
Perfect.